Welcome back to the Meta Minds podcast, where we're all about
relentless self-development
and
interrupting each other
and consciousness optimization. And on today's episode, we are talking about truth-seeking.
This is very close to my heart, Dan.
Yes.
Because truth-seeking, I consider myself a truth seeker, and it's made a lot of positive impact in my life, but also a lot of negative impact in my life. And, it's the opposite of, what's the saying where it's like, to live an unconscious life. I've just totally butchered it, but, where it's like you live unconscious and you don't have to worry about everything else.
Oh,
There's an analogy for it.
Yeah. Ignorance is bliss.
That's the one.
Yes,
that's exactly what I'm saying.
That's the one. Yeah.
And so if you're a truth seeker, you are not ignorant, and you are looking for the truth, and it will shock you and it will hurt you, and you will grow in a positive way.
Yeah.
But it's the hard life, let me tell you.
Yeah. And over time, you will become more accustomed with being challenged. You'll embrace it more, where ignorance is just you push it aside as like, no, that's not right. I've got my world. This is my view. Your view is wrong. So why is it important to us?
Yeah. So
why is it important as a whole? Yeah.
Often information that's presented to us on a daily basis, whether it's socially, through any kind of media, with our own thoughts, they're the main kind of information that is presented to us. If we don't question them, then we just take them as truth. And it's interesting if you observe just how much things affect you and your perception, which is your reality, then, everything around you will influence you very, very quickly without you having much of a say in it. So if you're able to take that little step back and just question all the information that's coming to you, whether it's your own thought or a headline you read on Facebook, which someone goes, oh yeah, I read this thing and I can't believe it. And it's like, there's a subreddit called R Saved You a Click. And if you look on it, basically they show you like the title of an article, and then it would be like how many clicks it saved you, like 43. And basically the title of the article says like, Tom Cruise says, I will kill you. But then it actually is like, some quote from like a movie that he said or whatever. It's just like blatant manipulation basically.
Right, yeah.
Anyway, short sidebar, but like, again, this is a thing where it's like, if you just read that headline that you found on Facebook or whatever, you're not truth seeking at all. Then you go, oh, did you hear that Tom said he was going to kill, whatever it is?
No, I didn't hear that. Where did you hear that?
Oh my God, I read it on Facebook. It's crazy, but it's like,
Wow.
And then the other thing is with digital media, because this is obviously a big part of it, if you do read the article, then you have to actually, if you want to get another layer deep, if you're seeking the truth, really, you have to see who wrote the article, who they're paid by, or what their motivations are, basically. And it can just go on forever.
It can.
And until you figure out what the person's gender is, what the actual truth of the matter is. The other thing is truth is subjective. But the other type is social truth. So someone can tell you something, whether it's an article they read on Facebook, a thought they had their own, or something they heard through someone else, or research they did basically. All you got to do is look up anything nutrition-wise on YouTube, and you will see there are so many conflicting arguments.
Yeah, well, that's it, man.
That you have to look at the actual scientific research to find the truth.
100%. Because one thing I've noticed is that you can create any truth by searching on the internet. Literally, there will be an argument for and against pretty much anything.
Diet.
Yeah, well, there you go. You've got that. You've got other diets. Like, how many diets are out there where people say they blatantly don't work or they do work? You constantly have counter. It's a very common thing to have counter arguments. So it's a good thing, like you said, to recognize the motivating factors of the writer, maybe who they're aligned with. Then you also want to potentially look at the counter argument. If you're really diving deep, you want to look into if it's a peer-reviewed thing and if it's empirical evidence that's like been proven over time. There's so much that you could get into with the validity of measures that have been used for certain surveys, again, because certain companies will have an agenda. So they'll push that this is a successful product. But if you actually dive into the validity of how they actually conducted that survey, a lot of the time you'll think to yourself, well, I don't believe that. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah. They've manipulated it basically.
Yeah, most news sources are like that. You watch the 6 p.m. news and it's like, this happened, and it's like that's actually not what happened at all. It's the same as the headline thing.
For sure. And like examples with like shampoo, for example, you can have 6 out of 7 women notice improved hair from this shampoo or whatever it may be. But the reality is that you don't know what the study was. They could have done 7 people.
They asked 7 people and they paid 6 of them.
Well, that's exactly right. And you have no idea.
But it's easy to read. It's easier, to just accept information for as it is and not seek the truth and read that and go, I'm going to buy this shampoo. You know why? Because 6 women said.
6 out of 7
6 women in total were like, this is dope-ass shampoo. So, it's very important And, it might not be to you. And if that's the case, that's fine. Like, click off this podcast and you're happy to live your life in a way that's, not as information seeking. And, ignorance is bliss. And that doesn't mean you have to be uneducated, because I know people that are ignorant as such, but still educated and live their life in a way that's optimized for themselves. They just don't care to take in any other information. And so when I aggressively point out the truth to them, which tends to be my way, which is why it negatively affects me, because I'm like, hey, the vegan diet is the best diet because of this or whatever. And they're like, I mean, you need to chill, man. And I'm like, no, I can't chill. They slaughtered pigs and stuff or whatever it is. I tend to be aggressive with the truth because I've found myself like, digging for the truth, basically. But some people are like, you know what, this works for me. I'm happy with this. Everything's fine in my area. And that's, somewhat ignorant. But again, if it works for them, they're making somewhat of a positive impact or whatever. Yeah. But then it can work for them. But I think that it's really important because there's so much misinformation out there everywhere, fed to us by every source. Yep. And so you have to find out what the actual truth is for yourself, for the planet, for the people around you, for the most positive impact possible, basically. Yep.
So how would you describe truth? Like, you've kind of got into it, but what is truth seeking, and what areas can we kind of, I guess, look into within that truth seeking realm? Because truth seeking, from what we've done our research on and from what we know, can really come from any aspect of your life, right? Yeah. Like, you can try to seek truth from anything, really. But yeah, like, why do we think that's important? I guess we've covered a lot of it. But the idea that, like, word of mouth is a very common thing, where you'll just hear something from a friend and you'll go, oh, okay, well, I believe that person, I trust that person, why would they lie to me? It's like a bit of ignorance, but the reality is you're trusting them from a genuine place because you trust that person. But the reality is, if you don't actually check the research, you're just believing it based on nothing, really, right? So it's important because information can be misconstrued. Information can get passed down from person to person to person, and then the message changes over time. So that's the social aspect of truth-seeking. There's so many, really, right? Like, and diet, again, like, there's so many.
Every category.
Business, work, everything. Relationships.
Literally everything. The government, like, how everything is run, the systems. And you can get really deep there and, like, totally change the way everything is in your entire life just by a little bit of truth seeking, Who, what, when, where, why is a good place to start for everything, basically. But yeah, like, the example that I was going to give is, like, in this day and age, just actually, even though we have access to the whole world in this device in our pockets, like, there's so much more information, like misinformation out now, especially that you hear around and socially that's spread around, basically, because we have access to this. But corporate agendas and all these different people's agendas that want to either capitalize and make money and make profits, or whatever the thing is, they just generally want to negatively impact people. And even if you want to positively impact someone, you can manipulate information in a way which seems like a particular way, basically. So there's much more more misinformation out now, even though there's much more scientific evidence, like, about all of the facts than there would have been, pre-internet, basically, and even every year leading up till now in the future. You know what I mean? Yeah. Which is crazy.
It is crazy. It really is. And also on that note as well, the idea of people who are, ignorant as such, or who don't look into this, it is quite a, like, cognitively consuming thing, because if we're constantly seeking truth, then that means that you're constantly researching, you're constantly looking for these things. So the easy option is to just go, well, whatever. But the reality that I'm trying to get to is that this is hard work, but over time it will become something that's second nature to you. Like, if you hear something, and you and I will do this, like, we'll hear something and we'll kind of go, oh, well, I need to look into that, or I need to research that a bit more. Sometimes we do believe it on face value, but we've kind of recognized that and spoken about that in the past. But I know for a fact that if someone tells me something, I will never, like, 100% agree nowadays straight away. I kind of want to look into it more, because I don't know 100%, even though I trust the person, if they've taken it in the right way, whether they've only read a snippet of it. So a lot of the time I will look into it a bit more.
But often you can avoid conflict by just saying, okay.
Yeah. Of
and
course.
Like, as much as, sometimes you can be about avoiding conflict, it's not that you're asking the person, it's not that you're attacking the person. It's like, oh, actually, have you heard about this? If you know something about it, or if you want to know a bit more about it, it's like, where did you actually hear that from, man? Like, I'm very interested to know,
Yep.
Or, where you heard that from. Do you know where that information actually came from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I guess the thing is our egos are so fragile, and our mind is so fragile that it can be manipulated by so much information through our five senses very easily and very, very quickly. And this is part of the reason why it's so important to seek the truth, not only for yourself, but the actual truth of things.
Yeah.
The real nature of how things are. And yeah, it does take a lot of hard work. And a lot of the times what you find isn't pretty. And this is why ignorance is bliss, because when you find out the actual truth about the animal agriculture industry or whatever, and it's so horrifying, or, about how your corporation is actually run and how the pay structure is entirely corrupt, and they're doing everything they can to pay you as little as possible and get as much work out of you as possible. Then all of a sudden you're going to want to rise up, and that's going to take a lot of work, and then you're going to have to maybe find another job and all these different factors, and you're not going to be happy for a while, and there's going to be conflicting emotions. And so truth seeking is very hard and dangerous as well, because it depends how deep you want to go and where you're gonna go. This is the funny thing is, like, this Area 51 meme that's going around at present, which might be a couple of months old now when this podcast comes out, is an example of people rising up and truth seeking. So it's great to see that people are doing it, even if it starts from a meme. Either way, I'm good, man. Like, go for it. If that's what it takes, a funny meme, then we're gonna make some more memes, Dan.
Yeah, there you go. That's something we're missing out on, I guess. Yeah, right. Well, that's a good point. Hey, that's really important.
But the other thing that is crucial is that when you align yourself with the truth, you're going to be on much more of a fulfilling and, present and calming path, because we're meant to be aligned with the truth. There's so much stuff that is false and is going about things in the opposite of human nature and in the opposite way of the way it should be, for optimized human social engagement and all these kinds of things. I've just forgotten the point that I was making now. Right. It is the best. This is the only path to be on that your body and mind is really going to feel truly fulfilled when you are seeking the truth or aligned with the truth. Because when you're not, you have an inkling that you're like, oh, something's not right here. Yeah. But it's just easier to be like, oh, so I know what the truth is. Just put it down and just keep going. It's okay. And that's totally understandable. And everyone's going to do that. I do that. You do that. Yeah. Because it is easier. It's like, but I guess I'll just keep doing this work and whatever. I don't like it. And I know there's like weird stuff happening and I'm not getting as much money as I could be. And I kind of don't get enough groceries each week or whatever, whatever position you're in. It's like, you can feel when you or reality isn't aligned with the truth. And I've made that point. It's important to be aligned with the truth, really.
Yeah, that's it. And I think you touched on a really good point before. I've been listening to Brené Brown talk about authenticity and vulnerability. And a really good thing that came out in the research is that calm people will always ask questions and stay inquisitive. So a good example that she gave was that someone in the office below overheard that they're going to lay off that department that you work in. They're going to lay off the entire team, and then that's then been passed on to you through another person who overheard from another person. So it's been passed down from 3 people that your entire department's going to be laid off. So the immediate reaction that you could go with is like that vulnerability, and you could be nervous, like, oh, okay, well, that means I'm going to lose my job. How am I going to survive? But the calm, collected person will ask, oh, so where did you hear this information from? Sorry, did you personally hear this? And then they go, oh, no, I heard it from a person who heard it from a person. You go, oh, okay then. And you just keep asking, well, who did you hear that from? And what would be the worst case scenario if that happened? And obviously, like in that example, it's you lose your job. But the reality is that hasn't been finalized yet. That's just what you've heard through the grapevine. So it's breaking that down and actually recognizing, and that's a form of truth seeking, because you're trying to find, instead of acting on an emotional feeling immediately and go, oh, I'm going to lose my job, you're calm and you try to recognize, well, how valid is this? How valid is what you're saying? Who have you actually heard that from? So breaking it down can be really important, but again, very time consuming. So a lot of people will just go the easy road and go, oh, okay then.
Better start looking for another job.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And then you just start getting stressed and then, the final week before you hear the announcement, you just don't work as efficiently. You're hiding from what could possibly happening. And it just becomes a perpetual negative cycle where if you actually question them, you could recognize in yourself that, well, actually, I don't know how valid that is. There's no point in me getting worked up now. Like, maybe I'll start taking steps to look into other work, or maybe I can even ask my boss about that.
Yeah,
I feel
cut
comfortable.
the middleman. Just go straight to the top if you can.
Yeah.
So for the research, for example, it's interesting when you look at, let's go back to the Diet Wars example on YouTube, the people that aren't legitimate, they won't leave links in the description about the studies that they're linking to. It's like, oh yeah, this is good because of this. But then, like, they have reaction videos and this whole YouTube drama, which is interesting in itself. And then you often find that, you watch the back and forth or whatever it is. I didn't spend all my time doing that, by the way.
Sure.
A little bit, just a little bit. That's my only form of reality TV, I suppose, on YouTube. It's just disguised.
Just drama. YouTube drama.
And then you get to the bottom of it, and then finally one person says, you're wrong because of this, and here's a scientific study that links to that. Back to the scientific study example, but basically, if you can cut out the middleman and get straight to the end, to the deep end, figure out exactly what everyone's like fighting about, and be like, okay, what does the research say?
Yep.
Who funded that research, and why does that research say that thing? Again, it takes a lot of work.
It does.
But back to the kind of main types of truth seeking is in yourself. So yeah, you really need to like seek the truth in what's authentic for yourself, and if that is this kind of diet or whatever, give it a shot. Really question if that is the truth for yourself, if that aligns with your values, and if that's working for you, and if it could be better. Because if it could be better, maybe there's a further truth to seek. And the other thing is truths change for people. One day you feel like you should be this way, but then the next day you feel like you should be this way. So this is your truth then. It often doesn't change from day to day, but it can change from year to year and through your life.
For sure.
So social, news and media, and everyone else in life.
Yep.
I had a point on that, but it's gone now. But
right. But in that idea of social, I think a really good example of that is you can get very malicious, and I've had this in friend circles, I've heard it from lots of other people as well, that someone will overhear that someone has badmouthed someone else, right? So you overhear that, you then immediately jump to that emotional response because you've heard it from a social aspect, from someone else in your social group, and you immediately jump to the conclusion that, okay, so that person's badmouthed me. So then you can completely change your behavior around that person. You could become like passive aggressive towards them. But the reality is you heard it from someone else. So again, seek the truth. Ask that person. Like, obviously, it takes a lot out of some people to be confrontational, but don't see it as confrontational. It's seeking the truth, right? You can gently ask someone, so I overheard this, and obviously you've got to weigh up whether you want to cause that conflict or drama. But again, ask the person who's told you that information, so who did you hear that from? Where have you heard this from, kind of thing. And if it's, they actually told me about it, then it's that whole idea of, okay, well, do you confront the person, or do you sit in an uncomfortable state where you just try to ignore it and try to still be friends with them? I don't know. There's so many examples that I could go into there,
and variables and factors.
Yeah. But it's that whole idea of, I think the main thing is, instead of just having like a perception that's been molded by someone else, a perception that's just been pushed on you, like this is what happens, and then you take that as truth, you just try to question it a bit more. You're calm about it, because something like that with a friend, this friend badmouthed you the other day, that could be an emotional trigger for you because you respect that person. So you could immediately go into like defense mode, your ego could flare up, and you could go, well, then they don't care about me, so why should I bother with them? And then you could start like complaining with that same person. And how's that going to be productive, right? Like that's nothing. So the reality is sometimes you need to seek the truth. And I've personally done this. I've overheard from someone that they didn't like me, that they thought a certain way about me.
I wasn't saying it, Dan.
So I asked Eamon.
It was a rumor. Brittany said that to you.
The truth was, though, mate, it was true.
What?
It was.
No. You're lying. Where's the recording?
I have empirical evidence.
Okay, all right. He's got me then.
Longitudinal studies.
But yeah, I think something that's. I lost it again. What's happened is happened a few times now. It'll come back.
Should I move on to news? What do you think?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So news is again another thing. So if you look at just the conventional news, just the broadcast news on your TV, a lot of the time there is a bias there because...
I got it.
Right. Do you want to go to it?
Yeah. So overseeing this whole process is actually, it's a mindfulness practice in itself, And so you mentioned ego there as well. And that's important to mention because, your ego could be comfortable, which is why you don't truth seek, or your ego wants to grow and be uncomfortable, which is truth seeking. But the main thing is what did I just say? It's
Mindfulness that you.
yeah, it's a mindfulness practice.
Yeah.
So yeah, actually questioning things. So again, you
From Brittany.
heard Brittany say that I don't like you. So you could be like, Amy, Brittany said that you don't like me. Why don't you like me? Or you can say, hey man, I heard Brittany say this thing. I'm just wondering if that's true.
Yeah.
Or I heard this thing. You don't have to mention Brittany.
Yeah,
she's
but I
mean,
did.
But you did.
Yeah.
But you can leave that out and just say, hey man, I heard this. I'm just wondering if that's true. That's two entirely different ways of reacting to a situation, which is a mindfulness practice, which takes awareness about questioning everything, essentially. And this is what we're talking about with truth seeking, is question everything, basically. And it's a lot of people aren't on this path, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But it's going to help you in your life. It's going to help other people. It's going to help the planet. Ultimately, it's going to align with you and make you feel better and live a more fulfilled life if you are aligned with the truth, or at least the truth for yourself for now.
Yeah.
But questioning everything that you hear that happens to you, that's going on, from the smallest things to like, where did this food come from? Like, really? Or why is this society structured in this way? Which is a huge question.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you can really get to the bottom of it, then you can figure out a lot of things, and then you can change your habits and lifestyle and the way you live your life and the way and what you find fulfilling. Because a lot of those things, like things and money, are pushed onto us as well.
Yeah. Which is a good point.
It's not fulfilling.
No. And I guess with the idea of news, like I was mentioning before, it could be manipulated by someone who has an agenda. A lot of the time, news outlets, especially in Australia, are owned by one conglomerate who then pushes their agenda on multiple news outlets, even though they've got different names to them and they've got different appeals and they look like different places where you get your information from, but it's actually being pushed by one person or a group of the same people who have an agenda, right? So if you just take the news as face value, then you're, not seeking the truth. You're literally just accepting it as fact. And a lot of the time, obviously, the news is going to document things that have actually happened. But it's the idea that you can seek other news, right? You don't have to constantly seek the negative news where you hear about all these terrible things that are happening every single day. Because if you turn off the news, those things will still be happening, but you won't be bogging down your energy focusing on how the news wants you to. They want you to be in fear. They want you to constantly go, oh, something terrible's happened. I need to know about it. I need to be in the loop. But unfortunately, that's the way the world is. Things happen all the time. We've got billions of people on this planet. Of course, things are going to go wrong.
A couple of people are going to get stabbed, okay? This is how it goes.
That's how it goes. But
meth exists, all right?
Yeah, well, there you go.
But the other important thing is, we talk about curating the information that comes into your life through Instagram, all the social media apps, Reddit, however you consume any kind of media. It's extremely important to actually curate what that is based on your interests and your needs. But then you can get caught in this echo chamber. So often it's actually really important to seek out the opposite side of what you think you believe, because you can be like, oh, this is my truth and this is what's important to me and this is what my values are. It's good to get out of that echo chamber for a little bit, because even there could be a lot of manipulation in the truth and what people want you to see in that area, because maybe they're not trying to manipulate you, but other people, and maybe not in a negative way. Anyway, getting bogged down here. But there can be an entirely different truth that, you just go outside of and be like, wait, why is it again that I don't like this truth? Just go into it, question it again, because you might go, hold on, there is actually some truth to what that person is saying, and I see where that person is coming from. Yeah. You could change your values entirely, or you could be like, oh, I understand and recognize again why I'm in this thing and why I'm consuming this type of media. Yeah. But curating your media and even questioning the things that you want to believe in. Know what I mean? Yeah. So it's I really like this kind of music, but it's why do you like this kind of music? I've liked it for 10 years. Yeah, but why? Now hold on a second. Why don't you like this kind of music? That's probably a bad example. Right.
But no, that's a good point, I think.
Questioning things that you think you actually believe in are the truth. Yeah. That you've believed for a long time.
Yeah. And I think that is commonplace as well, where you can have an idea on something and hearing the counter of that can really be valuable. I find myself learning a different person's perspective, even if it doesn't align with my values or what I believe is true, it could be the truth to them. And if you open up your mind to kind of see from other people's perspectives, you've got to remember that everyone has a different life, completely different financial structure, social structure, relationships. Everything is completely different in their life, regardless of how alike you are with that person. So trying to see from their point and go, oh, well, I know that person, really aligns with rewards, or they really align with social or family is a really important thing to them. So then if you see their argument from the eyes of the person who really values family, even though you may value independence more so than family, you can still see the benefits or, I guess, the counter of that argument, right? So it's just being open all the time, being open to be challenged and to challenge yourself on a concept.
Not from an egoic point of view.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, the other thing is like, when you are challenging things and challenging... No, I've lost it again. What's happened? This is like the fifth time. I had a really great point there, but I'm just listening to the end of your conversation and I'm like, oh, it's gone. Who knows? That's how it goes. So how do you seek the truth? We have really covered a lot of that, but yeah, it's important. It's basically what we're saying.
It is.
Question everything.
Yeah.
Even what you think you believe, even what you think is the truth, and it will take you to new places that you didn't think existed.
Yeah.
And it can be crazy.
It can.
And it can be stressful
And confronting.
and very confronting, and you might hate it. You might hate a lot of it.
Yeah.
And this is why they say, and this is a study which I've only read the headline of, Dan.
Oh no.
Is that more intelligent people have association with higher risks of mental disease such as depression. And again, although I've only read the headline, logically in my mind, I got my point back. I got it. Logically in my mind, that makes sense, because it's like if you are more intelligent, you have more thoughts, more frequency of thoughts, more thoughts about yourself, then you are going to realize the truth a little bit more, question the truth a little bit more, and that's what's going to fool you into this point of depression. But yeah, the other thing is, again, just hitting on that point, the way information is conveyed, back to perception is reality. What you perceive to be true is true. And so, even if someone is trying to communicate something to you, and this is really interesting in terms of communication, because I could say one thing where I'm like, hey, Dan, love the game Mario Kart, super fun. And then just the way you perceive that could be entirely different. It's like, oh, Eamon said that he wants to play Mario Kart with me right now. It's like, I didn't play Mario Kart. I don't know where these examples come from. But yeah, the thing is, like, even if someone tells you the version of the truth, which is the truth that they found from a place of facts and reliable scientific studies, the way they communicate that to you, you could actually perceive in an entirely different way based on your life experience.
Right.
So transferring of information is a fragile thing. The minds are a fragile thing, and they can be manipulated even when they're not trying to be manipulated. Someone's genuinely trying to tell you how they feel about something, and you just perceive it in an entirely different way just because your minds have different ways of working. That's the other thing. And this is why it's important, again, because you might tell me that it's like, hey man, I don't want to hang out. This is good, 'cause like on social media, someone sends you a text, it's like, can't hang out today. And they're actually swamped with work. They're super busy. The only second they could get away is to say, can't hang out today.
Yep.
Then you read that text and you're like, oh my God, he hates me. Like, Eamon's such a dick. Like, he never wants to hang out with me. And all he can do is send 3 words that says, can't hang out today.
Yeah.
And you perceive it in this entirely different way. That's a good way of how information is misconstrued.
For sure, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a big point.
Nailed it.
That's it. Cool.
Seek truth,
so
everyone.
question everything.
Question everything.
Seek truth. And have a beautiful life.
Yeah, literally. The other thing is, if you are on Apple or the iTunes store, if you could take a couple of seconds to rate and review our podcast, send us a screenshot of you doing that and what you left, even if it's a negative comment and you hate us, it really helps us out. We want feedback, we want to improve, we want to make better content for you, and we'll send you a personalized little DM.
Yep.
So thanks everyone. Stay meta, seek the truth.
Seek the truth.
See you next time.